Welcome to Witchin and Bitchin, the podcast. My name is Darren.
And I'm Vicky. How are you all?
Hope you guys are doing well. So we're actually recording an episode today that came up through conversation recently between us, which is talking about past lives.
Yes. Very interesting topic, this
Yes.
one.
So I guess the first thing that we wanted to address, actually, Vicky, you mentioned it well. It's about the people's beliefs and in past lives and whether people believe or don't believe, all that kind of stuff. How did you word it?
Well, I can't even remember how I worded it. It was very eloquent. I should have written it down because it's not like me to say something so eloquently.
I know, the sword that didn't write down her words.
I know, right? Not me at all.
Hashtag tarot jokes.
That's it. There's lots of tarot jokes.
Yeah.
So some people call it reincarnation, past life journeys. It's through lots of different cultures. It's definitely not just a witchy thing. It's definitely, I guess, goes more in the woo-woo category of our witchy, woo-woo, weird and wonderful. Or it could be a combination of all of them.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not something that all witches blanketly believe.
No.
Because there's a lot of witches that don't believe in reincarnation or past lives. But yeah, so it's just that that we live more than one life, one earthly life. Our consciousness moves from body to body, I guess, is one way we can kind of look at it. And we only see time as linear now, as a construct that we've created. But I always see time as, rather than going horizontally, it's actually more vertical. So we can just kind of hop between one to the next, so we can see our past lives. And
I see. It's funny. I don't have any linear reference to time anymore. I feel like I'm bound to the linear reference of this physical existence.
Yes.
But for example, when I do a past life journey, I very much believe that I'm not just sitting here remembering something. Like during that journey, I'm transported in time and space to that life to then land in that body, see through their eyes, feel through their skin, sense through their senses, remember their memories, and then in an instant, I'm back in the here and the now. So it's like, even that, I know I'm touching on quantum physics a little bit.
I was going to say, this goes into the quantum realm as well, which is that's one of the ways.
Yeah, because that's another, like, it's definitely something that I believe in, when it comes to quantum physics, that, time is nothing more than a linear construct, and that we have the ability to, when they say you can travel through time, it doesn't mean this physical body is traveling through time, because a physical body is bound to this dimension. Oh God, now I'm opening up a whole nother can of worms. What is a dimension? So we're currently in the third dimension.
Yeah.
Which is where this physical body resides, but our consciousness goes beyond that.
Yeah.
So I know that this is probably a topic that we can dissect in a lot more detail in the future episode about, 4D living, 5D living, 6D living, all of those things, the different dimensions. But in a short version, I believe that many universes and many lifetimes and many parallel worlds all exist simultaneously, because this consciousness exists simultaneously in multiple places. If I've just gone way over your head, that's okay.
Just really going into
rewind, just rewind and listen to it again. So I believe, because when you think about it, like you say that you're spending 16 hours of waking life in this dimension or in this body.
Yep.
But when your consciousness is asleep,
where does it go?
Where does it go? It doesn't lie dormant. And remember that because the 16 hours that I spent here are in this waking linear version of time, they probably are a blip. They happen in a blip, but I perceive them as a 16-hour period of waking consciousness. So then when I go to sleep, I have infinite opportunities to spend a number of years in other lifetimes, and in a blip, come back into my body to wake up the next day. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Have I just lost you? No.
No, I'm fully in there with that. I'm with you on that one, because there's many times, like, especially dreams, like what we perceive as dreams, sometimes I don't feel that they are.
No. I'm definitely a believer, like, especially when you have like lucid dreams. I know this is another topic. We can probably talk about lucid dreams even as a whole episode on its own.
I think so.
Because I've had some pretty vivid lucid dreams. But bring it back to past lives. Making mental note. Actually, let's write it down. Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. Let's pop that one down for a reference.
And quantum physics. Okay, so making mental notes. I'll find a quantum physicist.
Ooh.
I'll find a quantum physicist who also practices witchcraft. If I can find one, I'm sure one exists somewhere.
There'll be one somewhere.
I'll find a quantum physicist to be able to jump into that in a much better level of understanding than I'll be able to cover. But
so on a very basic level of past lives is, I guess, that our consciousness doesn't just live in this life, in this body at this time. We can live multiple times, multiple places. And we can tap into those to bring the knowledge forward.
Wow. Is it forward or is
forward,
it backward?
Backwards? Bring it back with us.
Bring it to the now.
Yes, bringing it to the now.
Bring it to this plane of existence, in this dimension, in this physical body, at this time.
At this moment.
Oh my God. This is like, see, this is what happens when you open a Pandora's box with a bunch of, like, anyone that is into this stuff, like, it's literally a Pandora's box. Like, and if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, have these guys just smoked like a whole heap of hooch? No, we have not.
No.
It's just, like, as you start to peel open the layers of what your belief system is and what that involves and where that takes you, like, just be open-minded and just explore wherever it takes you. So I guess to bring it back to past life specific, my first experience with them was actually when, well, there's actually two that come to mind. I don't remember linearly which one happened first.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, side note, when Fiona on our episode some time ago, she said that how did she word it? That she'd had, was it 53 rotations around the sun? Or she worded the age in reference to how many rotations around the sun, which was a very poetic way of referencing your age. It's either 53 or 54, but anyway, it was just beautiful because I'm like, oh yeah, that's because, it's exactly that. Like, we're not determined by how many revolutions around the sun we've spent. Like, why is that a measure of anything? Anyway, I digress. So, based on the linear plane, I don't remember which one came first, but one of them was a past life meditation that I did with Christopher Penchak, not with him physically, and it's not that I transported to him telepathically or anything like that. I have his meditation CD.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. It's a very, very 3D,
very easy
physical, easy to explain thing. I had a CD and it had his voice on it. And no, we're not going to start talking about how did we find the magic of putting someone's voice onto a piece of plastic. That's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole lot of magic.
Woo, witchy. Anyway, so I digress. So I did a past life meditation or past life journey with him, with his guidance. And it's actually one that I've visited multiple times. And now I've found this ability of being able to go to a specific past life that I've shared with you, actually, Vicky.
Yes, you have.
One particular past life, which, as my interests have changed and as I've grown and evolved as a consciousness in this lifetime experience, I've kind of paid attention to the signs, which is another topic we're going to be bringing up on another episode. I've paid attention to the signs around me. I've noticed that there was a common thread. And when I explored where does this common thread come from, I was drawn to a particular past life. And that one was in Egypt. But before I get into the detail of that, there was one other past life experience that I had, which was when I did my accreditation back in 2005 in being a level 2 crystal healer. And as part of that course, we actually had to create a crystal pyramid. So there was a crystal grid, like a square on the ground, and we had a beanbag for the person to sit in. And there was actually a crystal at the top of the pyramid, so it would send their signal out to the 4 points and it would travel around and whatever. So you had to create this crystal grid, which was a pyramid. Yeah. And then as they were sitting inside, we were sitting outside, we then had to like charge the crystals with the energy to create the crystal experience. And then we took them on a guided meditation, past life regression through that. And for that particular one, it took me to a lifetime in the, I would say around the Viking era.
Yeah.
I don't remember the names in specific because that was a long time ago, 2005. But I remember there being a situation where I was the son of a chief, for lack of a better word, like a person in charge of their
whoever's
tribe.
in charge of the tribe. Yep.
Yeah. And he basically, like, he was extremely like, what's the word? Heavy-handed man, we'll say that.
Yeah.
And that were things that were prevalent in this lifetime at the time. Like, I was going through that process of healing some stuff with my father, because he was highly abusive. And so I was going through that physical trauma and releasing that physical trauma while exploring this past life trauma. And it was like the story overlaid almost perfectly or identically.
Yeah.
And through that past life regression, I was able to realize that the theory is that you relive the same experiences time and time and time and time again until you learn to release them.
Yeah.
And through release, I mean, whether it's finding a sense of forgiveness, finding a sense of compassion, finding a sense of moving on, whatever the trauma is that you need to experience, like, you need to keep experiencing it until you are able to let it go. You feel with me, right?
Yes, I'm definitely
making sure that I'm making sense when I explain this.
No, you're definitely making sense. And that's a big thing with, especially, I guess, when people start to delve into their past lives and things like that, is that we find that there's those traumas and things like that we are very much unconsciously playing out now, that we realize that may have been come back from past lives. It's not necessarily always from this lifetime. There are different things that we may be playing out that we'd already lived before.
It's funny you say that too, because then minor plug, but yes, I'm also a life coach and I'm a master practitioner in something called timeline therapy. So timeline therapy, basically, it's a form of, I would say it sits somewhere between meditation and hypnosis.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that realm.
Somewhere where you meld the two kind of together.
Yeah. And so I'm basically taking the client into their subconscious, because it's the belief through psychology, it's backed by psychology. It's that saying that your subconscious will store information in a very visual, either visual, like some form of sensory sense, so whether it's visual, kinesthetic, or auditory sense. And your subconscious stores that information. And by going through hypnosis or timeline therapy or meditation, you tap into that subconscious and you unpack things. And that our subconscious literally has the key to holding the information for all of the past lives that we have experienced and will experience.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's not always just past lives either. We often refer to it as past life because that's, I guess, the common term, but often it can also be future lives.
Yeah, because again, it's only future in reference to our linear reference.
Yeah, that's right.
But even through that timeline therapy, when I was guiding my client through that experience, this was during my training, and she guided me through an experience, and I was taken back to, I actually sat in the house through this meditation with my 5th great grandmother and her mother. And I was able to, because this is when I just found out about my Aboriginality, because I have Indigenous Australian roots. And I had only just found out about it, and I was feeling a lot of guilt or a lot of shame that I didn't learn more about it at school, and that I kind of laughed it off and was flippant with wanting to delve into that, because I'm like, oh, that doesn't concern me. That's a them thing. I don't need to worry myself. And I was carrying guilt, because now I've learned that the stolen generation was very much in my family bloodline.
That was your,
And so I felt guilt. And so when I did this past life journey, I had no idea who I was going to meet, but I put it out there that I wanted to connect with this person. And I vividly remember, like, it came out of the meditation, hypnosis, whatever you want to call it. And I vividly remember talking to my 5th great grandmother and the things that she said to me. And the person who was doing the things, she wrote down quotations of what I was talking to her. She wrote it all down, and she read it out to me afterwards. And I cried so much, because I know that those words were not made up by me.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, and I know that this is, some people are going to think, wow, this is definitely woo-woo. But with the subconscious, the way that it works, psychologically speaking, is that the subconscious cannot differentiate between something that is a memory or something that has been imagined.
Yes.
In the subconscious, they're the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't know the difference.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, because if you can imagine it, you therefore can perceive it as though it's real.
Yeah.
So when we're taking people on a past life journey, in any one of these formats, whether you do a past life regression through meditation, through crystal healing, through timeline therapy, through like any version of this,
yeah,
I guess it all comes down to, you just have to trust the information that's coming to you.
Yeah.
Trust what you're seeing, trust what you're hearing, trust what you're smelling, trust what you're feeling. Just trust that it is real, because as far as your subconscious is concerned, it is real.
Yeah, that's right.
And no one can say otherwise.
No, and I think trust, that becomes such a greater issue within even just in witchcraft itself as well. Like when you talk about magic or energy and things like that, I mean, technically we can't see it, but there is that trust and belief. So this is kind of no different.
I guess just a random question.
Yeah.
Are you I need to see it to believe it, or I need to believe it to see it kind of girl?
I'm usually a see it to believe it girl.
It's such a sword energy thing.
It is, which is why I've had a lot of conflict with my beliefs throughout my time as well. Like some days I'll like be delved in, I'm like, yes, everything's real, it's all here, I'm playing with the fairies and all the rest of it or whatever with the energy. And then the next day I'll be like, no, is that real? Is it? Because I couldn't see it, but then I could feel it.
You could see it.
Yeah, but I could, and that's the thing.
Eyes.
Yes, that's
with
right.
Your psychic eyes or your third eye.
And that's it. That's where, so in sometimes for me, I really have to strip away that logical mind that takes over, or the conscious, I guess, the conscious mind that takes over and can really spoil the magic, I guess, for me.
And I think that's exactly what it is, because like, and this thing that I'm about to say can cross over into so many aspects of belief.
Yeah.
Because like as children, I believe that we see spirit.
Yeah.
Because we have that innocence. We look at the world and we see things that can't be seen, quote unquote, and we experience things that can't be experienced. But that's because when we're a child, we are open to all of these things. And as we grow up in society, we're told that they're imaginary. We're told that it's your imaginary friend. We're told that it doesn't exist. And eventually we then, because we are programmed to believe that it's not real, we then switch off to it.
Yeah.
And it's only when we start to strip back the layers and uncalcify our pineal gland, and that's a whole nother topic of conversation again. Like all I'm going to say is, if you're interested in this stuff, quick side note, make sure you put a filter on your tap. That's all I'll say. Get a filter, or if you can't put a filter on your tap, get a jug that has a charcoal filter in it, and then all the stuff's coming out of it. Because you guys can do your Googling. Just Google pineal gland calcification and how that impacts your third eye, and away you go.
That's it.
Bringing it back to past lives. So what I was trying to say is that, like, you know, we're conditioned to believe that these things don't exist by society. But I say, to help with society, I know what I'm experiencing is real, and whether you can prove it to me or not is none of my business, because to me it's real, and that's all that matters.
And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. It is to be. And that actually brings me to one of the past lives that I've experienced. This is one that I did when I was like 11 or 12, I think, because my mum was always kind of new agey. And so she had, I think they were like a Hay House cassette tape that we did it. And I did, yeah. And here's me and my brother who was like 2 years younger than me. So
I just realized that was a really bad hand action to do.
Trying not to acknowledge that. I'm like, no, we can't do that.
So for guys that aren't watching on YouTube, I was mimicking when you stick a pencil in a cassette and you twist it to rewind it. But I created a circle between my index finger and my thumb, and I stuck my pen inside of it and started twisting it. It didn't look very age appropriate.
No, not very appropriate at all.
Anyways, you digress.
So as I digress, so that was one of my first experiences of past life. So here's me and my brother. We're like, he's 9 or 10 and I'm like 11 or 12 in my bedroom going through this thing, and it takes you to where you die when you die in that life. I know.
In this life?
No, in that, yes, in the past life. So wherever your past life was, this part, I can't remember the whole thing because it was so long ago, but I remember that it took us to a point, it was supposed to take you to a point in that life for how you died. And for me, I thought I'd done it wrong because it wasn't my death. What I saw was me holding on to somebody who was like falling over a cliff. Like I was holding on to them and I was gripping them, and it was a man, and he had a really big bushy beard, really like crazy bushy hair, and I can remember it still, and I couldn't hold him anymore and he fell. And that was where that one ended. And then I can't remember all the rest of it that came out. But then when we came out of it, my brother and I, we didn't talk or anything. We went straight in to tell mum what happened. And so he went fast, knowing that I hadn't said anything to him. I hadn't done anything. He came out and said, I saw, I was hanging over a cliff and there was a girl holding me out, and I had a big bushy beard and I had long hair, and then she couldn't hold me anymore and fell. And it was the exact person. That's what I had saw.
So
it was my brother.
In a previous life, you were your brother's daughter.
No. I don't know what the relationship was between them.
Oh, between the girl.
Yeah, no, I don't know what they were. He just said it was a girl, and I was the girl holding him. And yeah, he explained it all completely to a T, and I hadn't said anything. So I wonder, like, because we were doing it together, we had synced into that life that we must have had together.
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
So it's funny because like then there's that whole thing of like, you know, when people call themselves like soulmates and stuff, and there's another phrase, I can't remember what it is. It's like where you think that you've spent a number of lifetimes with the same person.
Yeah, like I don't know what the terminology is, but there's often like a thought of like your soul family and people that you continually come back with.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that particular term is.
Because it's funny you should say that, because like then in one of the past life meditations I did recently, this is what I touched on before. So just to bring the listeners up to speed. So I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins, which is a game on PlayStation. Yes, I'm a gamer. Gamer spelled Gaymer. I'm a gamer. Yeah, anyway. So I've been playing that of late, and I also teach belly dance classes. So I'm listening to a lot of Arabic music. I'm actually studying Arabic for fun, but I've always been attracted to things about ancient Egypt and Egyptology and all that kind of stuff. So I watch a lot of things about like the pyramids and what they were really built for. And like anyone that watches Gaia will know what I'm talking about. You just go down that rabbit hole of all things Egyptian and you're there for hours. Anyway, all of these things came to a crux, and I wanted to explore that a little bit more. So when I did a past life meditation, I connected with someone by the name of Noor. And Noor is actually one of my current spirit guides in this earthly existence that I recently met a few months ago. But on this past life journey, we were told that we were going to meet someone from a past life. Like first you go there and you look around and you see how you look, and then you explore the past life a little bit. And then you ask your guides, the guide that you wanted to escort you, to come. And I was calling my guide who I asked to escort me because I thought, I'm going to Egypt. I'm going to ask Noor because he presents himself as Egyptian. And I asked him to come and he wasn't there. And then I was in this meditation so confused that Noor wasn't there. But the reason is as I was going through this past life, he was actually in my past life in the physical sense.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why he's now one of my spirit guides. Also, I found out is that he is trying to help me deal with issues in this lifetime that I was subjected to in that lifetime. And that was all about because that person, well, not that person, me, me in that previous life was struggling with my sexual identity just as much as I was at the start of this lifetime. And it's almost as though Noor and I had this, it wasn't a sexual thing, but there was some form of a closer than friends kind of like male to male kinship. Yeah. Through that lifetime. And then at some point, I didn't see exactly how it happened, but at some point our ways got parted. And then when I went looking for him, he was dead. And then I was devastated. And then I turned to religion, because before that I was a nomadic person who was not practicing any religion, but as a way of consoling that, I turned to religion. And it's funny because that also circled back to current day. When I was doing some soul searching in this lifetime, I turned to mainstream religion. That coincides with witchcraft as well. Like as in I was doing both at once, and I still am doing both at once technically. So it's like I'm still reconciling a lot of those issues.
Yeah. That makes funny, sense, isn't it? Like that those things, they're still coming in.
Yeah, so almost I imagine like little tentacles or something, or it's like a web that connects us to all the lives at the same time. And and so since then I've gone back to this same lifetime numerous times to learn stuff. And it's even funny because when I was in that meditation, yes, I'm studying Arabic, but I never knew there's certain words I didn't know, like that I still don't know. But when I went on this meditation, and when the person speaks to you in a language and you come out of it and you remember the words, and then you Google the words, and the words are actually real words in a real language that you don't speak,
that you don't know.
I'm like, you can't explain that.
No, that's it. That's right. There's
because I don't know how to speak Arabic, yet I was speaking Arabic in that lifetime. And then when I came out of the meditation, I was typing on my computer, spelling what I thought the words were. And sure enough, that was a sentence in Arabic.
And there it was.
And that's when his name, Nur, actually means light. And when I did my meditation, not the past life one, but a previous meditation, when I met Nur as my new spirit guide from a few months back, he actually said that he told me his name was Nur, and when I looked it up and I saw it meant light. And it was funny because what he told me in the meditation before I knew what his name meant is that the whole purpose of him was to help me find the light in the darkness. And because one of my other spirit guides helps me with shadow work, whereas he's supposed to be here to help me work in the light. That balance. And his name means light. So it's just, there's so many
beautiful, so many synergies, and that's right.
And you guys know me, I don't believe in coincidences. Like there's too many layers to this thing to not be true.
No, that's right.
But yeah, so it's like, that's why I say to people, like, it's always so much fun just to explore a past life. Like, I mean,
definitely.
I'm trying to think. So other than, I mean, obviously I do it with my clients in timeline therapy, but I also have the meditation CDs. I'm sure if you were to Google it, there would be like stuff on YouTube.
There'd be lots of it. So, I mean, the main kind of ways, I guess, people do it is meditation,
hypnosis, timeline therapy, crystal healing.
There's a lot of healing modalities that kind of bring it in. I mean, even Reiki and things like that do bring in past life stuff. There's different symbols for that as well. So it's in a very broad sense, it's in a lot of little areas. There's lots of ways to explore.
And I guess, and one of the ones that I did as a kid, similar to you, so there's a guy by the name of Brian Weiss, W-E-I-S-S. Yes, W-E-I-S-S. So Brian Weiss, he does a lot of past life regression stuff. And even like back in the day, this is like, I won't get onto the topic and what I think about it, but back in the day when Doreen Virtue used to talk about angels, she actually did one where you can do a past life regression or past life healing with the angels. Like I know that she does one if you're more into the angelic realm. And I'm saying that because I know not all of our listeners will be comfortable with talking to spirits. Some of them may be more comfortable with angels and more, what's the word? Judeo-Christian kind of philosophy. So you can do a past life healing with the angels if that's more your style. But yeah, so it's just so fascinating. Like
it is. It's such a fascinating thing, and I know one that I had. This one's actually come up a few times. I've done it a couple of times, but I had some quantum hypnosis and healing and stuff done earlier this year. Oh, that's a whole other topic, I think, is the big one. But it's mainly a hypnosis. And this particular one that we did, we went back through different past lives and things like that. So one of them, which I had already seen before as well, is that I was burnt at the stake as a witch back in the day. So well, who knows? Hey, who knows? So then there's also that kind of correlation where I know we talked about this in our other episode where we talked about coming out of the broom closet and things like that. Because there has always been that little bit of hesitation for me to come out, and I've always been scared of that rejection or persecution side of things. And so now you wonder, like, okay, I kind of get that there.
It's like, well, that happened to me once before. Like
that's already happened before.
Well, so. even not even just past lives, even just not broadly speaking, when people talk about deja vu, like I know that in this lifetime, there have been circumstances that places I've been in, experiences that I've had where the sense of deja vu was like next level. Like I knew exactly who was going to walk around the corner, what they were going to say, what was going to happen. Like, it's like I saw my entire life flashing before me, but it was happening in real time. And I'm like, I've been this, and I was preempting what every single person was going to do and say and all that. Or like I would say like, oh my God, I remember when I was here before. And then like one time back when we could travel, because Chris and I have been to 37 countries so far. And one time when we were traveling, and I said, oh my God, remember when we were here last time? And he's like, I've never been here. Either of you. No, I have been here.
I've been here.
Like, because I knew where I was going.
Yeah, like where everything is.
I knew my way around. And it's just so bizarre that, like, you know, in this waking life and in this incarnation, that you have memories from past lives, and you can, like, because literally sometimes I can go to a place that I've never been before, but I know exactly where I'm going. I don't need to look up no Google, nothing.
Yeah.
And I know exactly where I am and how to get there.
That's right. And a lot, like, that can be for like people's talents and gifts and things like that. Like suddenly you can pick something up and like, I've never done this before, but blah, blah, blah,
oh yeah, when you can suddenly learn, like, you know how to play a musical instrument that you've never learned how to play in your life.
Learned before. Yeah, or you've picked up, I don't know, all of those kind of things. You're like, is that part of that memory that's coming back from another lifetime?
Well, I actually see that. I know we're kind of gone off the topic of past lives, but I think that could even, like, it makes so much sense, because even in this lifetime, with the amount of things, like, so many people say to me, and this is, again, I'm not gloating, but so many people say to me, they're like, oh my God, you know how to do so many things. Like, you're so talented. I'm like, well, not really. I just like to, I'm a bit of a geek. Like, if there's something I don't know, I throw myself into it to learn about it. And they're like, yeah, but you naturally pick up stuff. And I'm like, and then now this kind of a conversation makes me think, well, am I picking it up or am I just remembering it?
That's right. It's kind of refreshing. It's kind of just refreshing the memory a little bit. And that's what it is.
I say that to my tarot. I don't know if you remember, Vicky, like, I say that to my tarot students, like, I'm not teaching you guys anything. Yeah. I'm just helping you remember what you already know.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, you did.
Yeah. Because they're like, I honestly believe that we've been here countless lifetimes.
I agree.
And we've just over time have learned and adapted and grown. And, you know, sometimes we do have to repeat the same shitty things time and time again until we learn from them. Like, okay, here's another topic of conversation. I know I'm going to trail off a little bit. It makes sense when we get there. So I was always taught that, you know, being raised in a kind of Christian sense, we're always taught that, you know, life happens to you. Yes. And you just have to, like, you know, you make a mistake, you have to give penance and all that stuff, whatever. And the end game is basically to go to heaven. And the way to do that is through forgiveness and all that kind of stuff. Whereas then when I've moved over to the, like, witch side of things and into all the healing energies and stuff like that, and also as a coach, I have a very different outlook on life these days. So I actually believe that we choose this lifetime. Yes. And on a soul level, we choose the lessons that we want to learn in this incarnation. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like we not sign a contract, but I guess in a sense we sign a contract to say, these are the things I want to learn. We give our application to universe. Application says, yep, this is the body you're going to be in. And then it's kind of like, so for example, this might be hard for some people to swallow, but I, in this lifetime, suffered from a lot of abuse, physical abuse for 21 years from my father. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I did all the healing work and inner work that now I'm actually at the point where, rather than blaming him and pointing the finger, now I actually thank him for teaching me the lessons that I needed to learn in this lifetime to fulfill my end of my contract. Does that make sense?
Yes. No, that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. I agree. I agree as well. That's something that I have come to as well recently, I guess, more so than anything, is reconciling things in my past, is that change of perspective on things, that there is a much greater picture. And there's, if we can really zoom right out, you can start to see that things happen for, I was going to say that cliche kind of thing, things happen for a reason. But
they do.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what it is that sometimes we have to learn those harsh lessons to be able to learn something further on, or to be able to use that experience to be able to help others, or to be able to have that compassion and those kind of things as well. So yeah, it's just whether we continue to keep doing it. through each life.
And I guess that's kind of the point of all of this, and why we're talking about past lives, is that like in this lifetime, there are certain lessons that we need to learn, and the journey to learning them is really up to the eye of the beholder. Like there's so many different, like, what's that phrase that you like to say, Vicky? There's more than one way.
There's more than one path up the mountain.
Yes, I love that analogy so much. Like there's more than one path up a mountain. So however your soul, your spirit, your energy, your consciousness needs to get to the end, or to get to that end of that journey, or to learn the things you need to learn, and experience the things you need to experience, and see the things you need to see, and hear the things you need to hear, and all of that lovely juicy stuff. Like however you need to get there, just get there. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what modality you do. It doesn't matter, like if past life regression or past life meditation or past life journeying is one of those things that you want to do, I say do it.
Yeah,
because,
that's right.
I mean, if I would have learnt this as a kid, and I thought, I could have avoided all of the abuse and learned all the lessons by simply visiting a previous life.
Maybe
that would have been a better option.
Maybe that might have been a better option. We'll tick that option instead.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's right.
I can laugh about it now, guys.
No, that's right, because you can. But there's that sort of thing of, we go for it. If that's something that you want to explore, don't let anybody kind of, I don't know, dim your light on that sort of side of things. And I mean, there's different beliefs on why we have more past lives and things like that as well. Different cultures and different things have different reasonings, I guess, for past lives, that we're on that wheel of karma, and what we need to do that to ultimately get to a certain other place. Or
so now we're opening up another Pandora.
Yeah, there's a whole other can of worms with it all as well. So like it's such a big topic. But I guess if we come back to our sort of basic kind of analogy of what past lives are.
So then, Vicky, I guess the next question I have for you, because this is me just spitballing now, because it's not we haven't prepared this part of the combo. So if I'm someone I've been listening to this podcast, I've heard what we've had to say. I've heard what we've had to say. You know what I mean? And I'm interested in doing past lives. I've explored, I looked on YouTube, I found a couple, I do a past life meditation, and I find out some pretty out there stuff. Like, what would I then do with that information? Or like, you know, for example, let's just say I've experienced trauma in this life, and all of a sudden I'm visiting a past life and I've experienced trauma there as well. Like, am I going to be reliving that trauma? Is it going to hurt me? Like, or once I'm out of it, what do I do with that?
Wow, that's a big question, isn't it?
Well, what would you do with that?
What would I do?
Probably a better way of wording it. What would you do with that if you've experienced a traumatic event in a past life journey that you see synergy with the current world? Like,
yeah, that's right.
I guess what I'm trying to say is it safe to do?
Is it safe to do? And I mean, I guess that's the thing as well. Like, is it safe to do? I probably, after that, if I found something particular and I also needed help processing that, or I would go seek help from somebody, whether that be a healer, somebody who specializes in that area, whether it be a mental health specialist, but that can also be a bit hard because you can't always necessarily say, oh, well, I did this in a past life and now it's reenacting in this life. They might ship you off somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, quick answer is just message me, because y'all know that I am a life coach and I deal in past life stuff, and I'm also a Reiki and crystal healer. So
yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. I would go seek help from somebody within my sphere, or whoever you know that is a healer, a coach, somebody like that you can then work through that stuff and talk through it. I think sometimes it's really important to not think that we have to always do all these things ourselves, that when we go through it, and maybe it is our journey, but we don't necessarily have to be stuck in our own heads about it either. So for me, I don't think it's about reliving that trauma. You don't really relive that trauma. It's more opening it up a little bit so that you're now more open to start working with it. And I mean, this gets into the hard stuff. It's not easy stuff either. It's not nice and easy to just deal with. You need to do the work and stuff. But one quick and easy way before, like, if you can't talk to anybody or anything straight away, start journaling and start writing.
No, I was literally just sitting there thinking, if she doesn't talk about it, then I'm going to mention journaling. But then you got it. So I'm like, okay, she's already done it. Tick.
That's it. So it's like, just write it all out. Like, write everything you remember. Write, just sort of automatic writing, and then you can come back. And I find journaling and writing such a great way to be able to clear my thoughts or get them in some kind of coherent way.
Of course you do.
Yeah, that's right, because I'm an air sign and I like to write things and I need to get the stuff out of my head. But yeah, then beyond that, if you see that you can't, if it's something that maybe you feel you need external help with, go find somebody around you. There's so many amazing healers and hypnotherapists and coaches and all of those things. Find somebody in your sphere. Somebody's bound to know somebody. So go grab some help.
You know,
journaling is the first thing.
Do you know one of the things that I really want to do? And in some ways I'm a little bit scared to do it.
Yes.
But it's something I really want to do when it comes to past lives, is one of those, is it called ayahuasca?
Yes. Like, ayahuasca, the plant medicine.
Yeah, it's like going to like Peru and doing like one where they make you drink that concoction that apparently tastes like ass. And then you kind of do that journey. But like I've watched, there was that show that I watched on one of the streaming services. I don't remember which one. If it was Netflix, Stan, or Hulu, or whatever. One of those. Goop, yeah, where they did it. I was on Netflix. And I was like watching. I'm like, on some hand, I'm on one hand, I'm like really intrigued and fascinated. On the other hand, I'm like petrified.
Yes. See, this can be a whole other topic for an episode as well. Is the use of all of those kind of things to
hallucinogen.
Yeah.
Witches do with like belladonna, with
flying ointment.
Is it monkswood? No,
monkshood.
Yeah. Then there's wormwood.
There's all sorts.
All sorts of like hallucinogens.
Yeah, and I mean there's the traditional the flying ointments from way back when as well, and that's where a lot of the myth came of riding the broomstick.
Okay, I'm writing down hallucinogens.
It was flying ointment.
As a future topic of discussion.
Yeah, and the poison path, I guess they call it as well.
Maybe we need to even get. And by the way, guys, when we talk about hallucinogens, in no way am I condoning like abusing your body,
recreational
drugs and things like that. Nor am I shaming you if you do that.
That's right.
Because everyone is on their own path, and however they get there, they get there. I'm just saying, like, if you're listening to this, like, we're not telling you should do these things. We're not telling you need to do these things. But if you want to do these things, we would rather you get the necessary education about them so you know what they do.
Yeah, that's right. Have the information first, and always do them with a trained practitioner, so that you have somebody there to help you and walk you through it. And that's the same thing also with past life regressions. If you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, go see somebody.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough hypnotherapists or meditation instructors or crystal healers or timeline therapists or whatever.
If it's
I realize I literally tick all 4 boxes, but anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
So just come and see me.
Go see Darren. But yeah, you don't have to go do them on your own. If you have that little bit of apprehension about it or anything like that, go see somebody so that you can have somebody facilitating it with you and talking you through it, so that if you do feel like you get to a place where, like we were saying, that you might find some of that trauma and things like that, they can talk you through it and help you through it and guide you through that to use it in a useful way.
Yeah, I guess because as a practitioner of these things,
like
that's one of the things that through hypnosis and meditation and like crystal healing and timeline therapy, one of the things that I'm constantly presupposing to their brain, presupposing means I'm basically planting the idea that you're not going to be living the event, you're just witnessing or viewing the event.
Yeah, and that's
it's not
very important detail.
In front of you. So it's that whole thing of I help you disassociate from the event rather than associate with it and live it and breathe it and feel it. Because it's important for us to look at both sides. Like I have done a past life where I wasn't adequately guided by the person like who I was listening to. So do your research on reputable people if you're listening to a meditation, because this person didn't say all those things. And when I went into this past life, it was like traumatic to the point that I freaked the hell out and had a panic attack, and someone heard me from like the other room and came in and had to shake me out of it because I was stuck in this event and I didn't know how to come out of it. And this voice was making me go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. but everything in my body was freaking the fuck out, and my body was jolting, trying to bring me back out of it because I was reliving it. So not to alarm you.
No, but we do need to be aware of the two sides of it as well.
Yep.
So always going into something with knowledge and awareness is so much better. And I mean, going on with that, like I mentioned, the one where I was burnt at the stake, the most recent time when I did that quantum hypnosis, because the facilitator I went to was so wonderful. Apart from that one, I actually went through 5 of my death.
Wow.
None of them were pleasant. I just fell asleep and died in my bed kind of stuff either. There was some quite horrible things, which obviously there was other stuff that I was working through in this life that then correlated with it. But because of her as a practitioner and being able to guide me through that, that wasn't a traumatic experience for me at all. In fact, it was quite the opposite in the end. So don't be alarmed by that either. So it is important, I think, if you're going to go see somebody, to do a little bit of research as well.
Yes, 100%. So I guess
I think we've kind of covered it all.
Everything?
Yeah. I think
so if you're interested in past lives, guys, all I say is do a little bit of research first. If you're not comfortable doing it by yourself, find a practitioner that can guide you through it. Otherwise, if you're willing to dip your toes into this sea of magnificence that is the quantum world, then do that too, because you can honestly get a lot of valuable healings and lessons from your past lives in this lifetime, which might make your journey a little easier.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, let's face it, that's what we all want. We all just want a little bit easier to move through a little bit gracefully.
Awesome. So as usual, guys, we'll pop all of the links to our social media on the bottom of this, the description within this podcast. I won't make Vicky read them all.
No, don't make me do it. I'm not very good at it. Let's face it.
Just find us on Facebook at WAB, the podcast. Otherwise on Instagram at witchinandbitchin.the.podcast. Or you can email us at wab.the.podcast@gmail.com. Just check out.
Yay! Look at you. You did it perfectly.
Yeah, and probably because, I mean, it helps that I created the logins.
I know, that's fine, but that's okay.
Awesome, guys. Well, until next time, we'll see you all soon.
See ya. Bye.